thank you for the introduction and thanks for your attention. I won't start talking about ERP, right? So first of all, I would like to introduce you a little bit to the topic. And the topic, unfortunately, when we're talking about sustainability, tend to be quite sad. In our case, it's about oceans. It's about the amount of waste that we produce every year. Germany, for instance, we are one of the top polluters. In Europe, we are second only to the UK. Per capita, we're talking about 100 kilogram of single-use packaging wasted every year. That's a massive amount, and as you might know, plastic doesn't really, degrade easily. It takes many, many hundreds of years. Meaning every year we are flowing more and more packaging into the oceans, and it's gonna be there for a long time. To the point that Greenpeace was actually showing a very terrible number for the future. We are talking about some point reaching more plastic in the ocean than fish. This is a future I don't like. This is a future that I do not want. And this is a future that we don't have right now. We are not there yet. The good news is that this is only a projection. This is not reality. But it could become reality if you don't steer it very quickly. So how we steer it? We have to change massively. And we have to change the entire economy. The economy right now is designed for us to use and consume a lot of resources. But it wasn't always like that and doesn't need to be like that in the future. There is actually a relatively simple solution, which is moving away from a linear economy in many parts of it to a circular economy. And circular economy is nothing crazy difficult, right? So we're talking about producing assets. They are not destined to a dump, to be wasted, to be used once and then ended up in a river or in the ocean, but to see products also, for instance, in packaging, in other things that we currently consider waste. And for us at sykell, this is actually a mission that we say we can work with. We can actually help companies reach the point where their product can be used many times. They can be reused all over, and we don't have a problem at the end of the day with the massive waste as we have right now. So what we do, Einfach Mehrweg was our first product. It means simply reusable in German, and this is a reusable packaging that we produce and we commercialize right now in around 5,000 supermarkets all across Germany. What it does is super simple. It replaces single-use packaging with a reusable asset that is taken by the consumer. It's used for your salad, and at the end of your lunch, you just bring it back at the Pfand automat, the reverse vending machine, at the supermarket, from where it's recovered, washed, and used all over again. It's a very simple solution, doesn't require new material. It's made of very simple plastic that can be used hundreds of times, which is the magic around it, and it prevents us from a massive quantity of packaging to reach the waste. And it's proven. So I'm an engineer, we have a very scientific background, we don't do things just because it sounds fine. So we really wanted to get to the root of the cause, and we started analyzing our system from a carbon emission perspective, from a waste reduction perspective, from a water usage perspective. And we end up with this fantastic number. Using one container of Einfach Mehrweg can actually replace 50 single-use containers. This is a very conservative figure. We run tests with more than 500 cycles and still everything is fine. And considering all the impacts that we have during this reusable supply chain, we reach the point where we have a 91% reduction in waste at the end of the day. So if we would work at scale, we would have solved 91% of the problem of waste in our ocean. Sounds great, but how do we scale it? We're just one company running one packaging for a few use cases at retailer, right? So this is not close or will ever even get close to reach a fantastic solution for this problem that we have. We're talking about a global problem, talking about across countries, we're talking about across use cases, products, and everything. So how can one piece of packaging solve all of that? It cannot. So we went one step further and we built Circular ERP, and this is scalable. Other companies that are working in the circular economy right now are struggling with a lot of issues, and one of the most pressing one is the lack of a centralized place from where to manage the entire supply chain. Circular economy is not that different from a linear economy, it's just more complex because you need return logistics, you need washing, repurposing, you need to work with many more partners, many more companies to all cooperate much more than a normal company would do. What we created then was a solution for them to orchestrate this complexity from the comfort of their office. A good example are these companies that we work with, Simi, Dodge. They run different packaging solutions for personal care, for beauty products, for oil and vinegar, and many more use cases. So we already expanded massively the reach that we had with our own small Einfachmehrwerk solution, and now we are able to solve, to handle more than 10 million assets in one single year, and we just started. This solution is definitely designed to scale and to enable circular economy across many industries and becoming like the new standard. We work with two types of assets, serialized and non-serialized, meaning we can track each one of the assets through the entire supply chain. If the assets are not serialized, we're talking about volumes or assets that are moving back and forth, but at the end of the day, we actually are able in any case to reach a full visibility of the entire supply chain. And I would like to introduce this system in a few words, just for you to have a better understanding of what it means to run circular systems. First of all, we want to make sure we have a clear understanding of all our partners in our procurement, sales, and having an integrated place from where to run the entire business. This is one of the key functionalities of any ERP. On top of that, though, we integrate the logistics, which goes now in both directions. So to ship things to our clients and to recover used containers or used products from our clients back to the washing facility or repurposed facilities, clearly something that we do as well, and orchestrate all the processes around it. Now, to work with partners and with suppliers, we rely heavily on any sort of data transmissions, API, mobile apps, some industry standards, anything that can enable the transmission of information from the point from where it's generated to the point where we actually use it to commit to a final solution. And that is where we can actually use the complexity and the information that we receive to the system to put everything in one place. Now, the power of it is to be able to steer a business in a very efficient way. So when you have a circular economy setup, you want it to make it financially viable, meaning keeping your operation at the cheapest cost as possible, optimizing your resources so they can circulate as much as possible, as many times as possible, and in the shortest period of time. If one container can circulate 10 times per year or 20 times per year, means that in 1 year is able to replace 10 or 20 single-use ones. And everything you can actually see and display and steer from within the platform. And finally, there is a lot of data. So data is what we live for. The more complex the system, the more important is able to understand how it's performing, and data actually give us the answer to this problem. The Circular ERP is running on an entire data set. It's a BI platform that collects information from all our partners plus our own data, and from there generates a data layer that unifies or creates homogeneous data that can be used by anybody in the organization. We do not expect financial managers to be able to run their own SQL queries in most cases, so we did the work for them. We create data buckets that are usable, so where you want to see how many customers have returned containers in a specific point in time, in a specific area, within some additional filters or business logics that you have. This can be easily plotted into a graph, exported as a PDF, and share with your management. Everything from within the platform without knowing any SQL or any code. And that's it. This is how we actually managed to create a platform that can be used by any company who wants to circularize. The way we are planning this is to actually, right now, working mostly with companies that are already active in the circular economy, but the next step is to become much more present in companies that run linear solutions, and they see the potential and they see the need from the clients to introduce a circular system. By giving them the platform and giving them all the knowledge that we acquire either internally or within our partner, we are able to give them a very simple solution so they can quickly start in a reusable system immediately. If you want to know more, we are hiring for several positions. We have an office here in Berlin-Kreuzberg. We are looking for engineers, operation managers, finance people, sales managers. So please find us on LinkedIn, or we have a booth right here in the back. Thank you so much. Question time.
Yes, thank you, David. We have now a few minutes for your questions, if there are any. Yes, over there. I'm coming to you.
So if the customer doesn't want to return the package, is it biodegradable?
So it depends on the product. In our case, we are working with plastic, so it's not biodegradable, but it's recyclable. So this is now becoming a requirement from European Union. So if you run your system in Europe, your container must be designed for recyclability. If the customer doesn't return it, they lose their deposit, which
of course,
is their problem.
But many customers don't care about their deposit. That's the problem.
True. But then it will be recycled as any other piece of plastic, let's say. Our approach was to create packaging that is monomaterial. So it's purely polypropylene in our case, which is one of the simplest type of plastic to be recycled. We don't work with any digital solution like RFID, etc., because it will become problematic during recycling. Also, we don't work with a mixed material that must be separated during recycling, making this operation much more complex.
Vielen Dank.
Pleasure.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we look from the front. Okay, then I have a question for you, if you don't mind. How do you prioritize the development of new features? If you want to talk about that a bit.
Yes, so we are very pragmatic. Working with such a complex system, there are any days, let's say, millions of features to develop. At the end of the day, our main focus is scale. So anything that allows us to reach a much higher impact, to replace much more single use with a reusable system at a scale across entire geographies, this is what for us makes a feature much more important. Everything else, unfortunately, needs to go a little bit down in prioritization list.
Okay, thank you. There's a question.
Hello, my name is Nick. I would like to ask, what are the main challenges to deploy this solution to other supermarkets than Bio in Germany and in Europe?
Every supermarket, it's a little bit of world on their own. So they run their own systems, their own application. There is not much of a standard. There is one standard that seems to be very extended across supermarket, which is called EDI or EDIFACT. Something was developed in the 80s. So we try to be as much as, let's call it, technology agnostic as possible. But it's true that reaching a new partner of such a large scale requires quite a bit of investment to understand how they run and to fit into their own operations. The good news, though, is that this investment brings us thousands of new locations. So every supermarket is so large, and they focus and they cover such a large part of a country that by doing one investment, you can introduce thousands of more reuse location, like return location, and selling points for the customers. So totally worth the investment.
Over here, sorry. I think you were first.
Is it just Germany, or do you plan to expand worldwide to global scale supermarkets like Walmart and you name it?
Thank you. So mostly Germany, I would say Germany right now, it's the leader in Europe when it comes to reusable systems. So the fund system in Germany has been up and running for 20 years. So for us, it was a very easy way to get into a customer habit and into an existing infrastructure, and let's say reverse engineering the existing infrastructure to work with different use cases. Other countries, they will have a much longer introductory phase before reaching what we have in Germany right now. Good news is that European legislation is pushing a lot in this direction. I was in Paris last week, and there are many large supermarkets, not only in France, but in many European countries. They are definitely taking the right steps towards this objective. It will take still a few years before we see something so advanced.
Okay, thank you. I was coming over to you. Yes.
Thank you. Who are your customers exactly? Is it like Simi, Dodge, Zero, or are the supermarkets?
In a way, both. So we run a circular ERP as a digital solution. In this part of our business, customers are other pool operators, similar to Simi, Dodge, so companies that they produce, commercialize, and operate their reusable packaging or other type of reusable assets across a supply chain. We run also Einfach Mehrweg, which is our own packaging company, which is also customer of our own digital solution. And there we offer our products to retailers, so supermarkets and convenience stores all across Germany.
Thank you.
Hi. What kind of products go inside your containers? Like if we're talking about supermarkets or other use cases, like what is the most common use for it?
Yes, we focus on food, so packaging made for food, any sort of food. Most used one at the moment is self-serve salad because that's easy, convenient, flexible. We work with everything that is called fresh cuts. Technically, so there are like a few words that I guess you understand only if you work with supermarkets. Cheese, anything that is freshly produced at the point of sale and sold directly to the customer. These are like by far the most common one. Imagine a fruit salad or a Bircher muesli or anything that is literally fresh. We do work directly also with pre-packed products that are packed before being sold to the clients. Let's talk about, I don't know, coffee, let's talk about chocolate, anything that is solid. This is kind of our side, cereals, things like that. And we also work with bulk stations. It's called Unverpackt in German. Basically, these are like very large installation where you can pick a few grams, so you decide how much content you want to get. Usually it comes with rice, pasta, and other sort of solid products like cereals and things like that. Pleasure.
Okay, we might have time for one last question, if there is any. Yes.
Do you have use cases for integration at production site with your packaging and then in supermarket?
Yes. So let's quickly separate. Einfach Mehrweg is designed for a manual filling, which means that's why we focus so much on fresh products, because we are talking about relatively small volumes that can be filled by any person. I have a piece of cheese, put it into a container, I close it, and I serve it to my customers. Through our partners, we work a lot also with the production facilities. So the system is designed to cover different use cases. The packaging itself, though, is different because their packaging needs to fit into an automated filling line, which I don't know if you've ever seen any documentary. These are like high-speed machine, quite complex, that expect the packaging to fit some requirements, so it can be filled and closed quite immediately from those machines and then packed at scale. The advantages of those systems is that the volumes are massive, but the packaging needs to be designed to work with such machines.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
joining
It was a
us.
pleasure.